Welcome to Kee and Kier's Kingdom Connection, featuring
my dad, Reggie Kee, and
my dad, Kier Hopkins Smith.
Woo! Woo!
That works.
That was a dap that said we ain't done this in 3 weeks.
Yeah. You would think it's either going to be like really good or really like trash.
Right.
I forgot how
The whole dap was like, we're like, nah, bro. But that one was a good one. That was a good one. Well, welcome to Kee and Kier's
Kingdom Connection.
Yeah, baby. We
took
are
a little
back.
hiatus.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was not planned.
Yeah, it wasn't planned.
But in hindsight, I think it was needed. It's cool to kind of. I hope y'all missed us. But it's cool to kind of take a little pause and be able to come back and know that we back like we never left.
Like we never left.
Yeah, but we trying to make up time a little bit too.
Yes.
So let's get right into it.
Yeah.
I love how you can just kind of live life, and these little lessons will just pop up, or these little like ideas will present themselves to us in like seemingly random things.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the first week that we missed, it was because I was back in Illinois.
Right.
I believe that's correct.
Right. And
I noticed like going there and on my way back, my back was a little out of sorts. I'm like, ugh, like every time I sneeze or if I breathe too deep, I'm like, oh, I feel that.
Yeah, I can't stand that.
In my back. Yeah, right? So I'm sitting there trying to do all manner of stuff. I'm in the, when I go like into the gym, I'm like hanging from the bars for a minute, trying to get my back lined up and everything. Came back to my chiropractor. He was like, yeah, your rib is out in the back a little bit. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was possible. Right? My ribs just kind of popped out, huh?
Okay.
And so, yeah, he got me right, and I've been straight ever since. But it got me to thinking, I'm like, man, so my rib was bothering me, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And I hit you up, and I was like, hey, man, like, it's something when your rib not really aligned,
right? And
how it can throw off your life.
Yes.
How it can throw off where you at and how your stance is and everything.
I think y'all know what we're about to
how you breathe. And so, we tend to talk about different things that impact us, our why,
right,
in particular.
Right.
And so I got to talking about, okay, I see a connection here with the rib, and just to make sure that we're balanced, though, I was like, but yeah, even though the rib is vital for the rib to do its job because it protects the internal organs,
right,
it's also on us to protect our rib as it's protecting what's on the inside of us. And so we're not doing our job. Even as you showed me a picture of Star, and I was like, she looks like she has been washed with the water of his word. We'll get into why in a little bit. But yeah, if we're not doing our jobs protecting our ribs, and our ribs can't do their job protecting us. And the women, the women in our lives being, the inheritors or the people who came from Eve, who came from Adam's rib. This is why we're talking about pretty much our relationship with our wives today. Right. And it's very fitting because you had a time to protect your wife.
Yeah, man. And just as you talked about, that space of your back being out and God giving you that word concerning your rib, with my wife, her brother passed away. And they're back in Indiana. I have not been to Indiana since I moved here. Okay. There's a couple of times where it's a possibility I was going to go, then it didn't happen. So I've actually settled myself that I probably wouldn't go back to Indiana for quite some time. Yep. I've literally have settled myself. And I'm not really looking forward to going back to Indiana. I've made a life here. God has given us a life here in the Carolinas. So I'm just as cool and kosher. So when the time comes for us, that her brother's passed away, a lot of complications happened. They couldn't settle on the date for the funeral. And I'm like, okay, all right. I guess we gonna have to go. I don't want to go. I didn't want to go. Reggie, I didn't want to go.
Hey, man.
I was ready to ship my wife to Indiana and look, have your sister pick you up. I don't care if it's the airport. I don't care if it's the bus station. I don't care if it's the Amtrak. Yeah. Have your sister pick you up, handle your business with your family. I'll hold it down here. See when you come back.
Right.
And I was in that headspace. And then the Lord come tapping. And I love him for his taps, because they're gentle but forceful at the same time.
Right.
But he came and he started tapping on me. He was like, no, we're not doing that. I've given her to you and she belongs to you and you're going to keep her and you're going to take care of her. yeah, I need to prep your heart because you're going to go. And I was like, I got to go. I'm not going to lie. Even with that, I was over here like, I got to go. I got to go. I got to go. He was like, you got to go. And you're going to do it with a good heart. And I was like, you're right. I am. So we did. So we still didn't know when it was going to be. Okay. So here we go. We're planning this thing from a Monday through a Thursday to go to Indiana to be with her family, to just be down there. And we were going to go. Her sister still hadn't settled the funeral. We left Monday morning. We arrived that afternoon. Once we arrived, her sister said, oh, yeah, I settled on the funeral. It's going to be next Monday.
Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be coming back Thursday.
I'm leaving Indiana to come back here on Thursday.
Because you had a whole...
I got a whole pop-up I had to do. Already and I'm like, really? Had you told us, I'd have held this whole thing off until next, But took the trip. The Lord prepared my heart. We took our children down. Had to get a hotel. Couldn't stay with anybody. It's all good. God prepared everything. But then I knew that trip. Even with the trip back, we having this conversation. And she's like, well, baby, she's like, I got to come back for the funeral. I just got to be here for my family. Even then, I'm over here like, girl, look, here's our options. There's a bus, there's a train, and there's a plane. I mean, bro, I'm over here like, I did it, Lord. I did what you said do.
He said, double down, though.
I did it. I went to Indiana. I traveled. And the Lord was like, yeah, we're not going to send her. You're going to go and you're going to keep your wife. And you're going to be there for her. And I was like, so we got to go again. So then, okay, preparations. You have to keep the rental, pay longer for the rental to keep that joker so we can get back to Indiana on this past Sunday morning because the wake was Sunday, funeral was Monday, and then come back on Tuesday. And the Lord prepped my heart to protect my rib. Yep. And I was telling Reggie that when it comes to boxing, I had some good time of learning how to box. And those times of boxing, they teach you not only how to strike, because it's great to be a great striker, but you also got to learn how to protect yourself. And one of those great protections, one for your face, is keeping your hands up here. But the other one is keeping this elbow tucked into the side. Because if you come loose and come here, all of this is open and exposed, and a counter is coming, whop, straight to the ribs. Yeah. And so if we don't tuck and protect, then we leave the rib exposed. And if the rib is exposed, then it can't do its job to protect the internal. So that was good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it's easy to, when you are pained by a thing, it's easy to point to what you're feeling in the moment and forget, well, what was the cause of it? Right. And so we have to be circumspect. Again, yes. Husbands have to be circumspect and make sure that, okay, my wife may be doing or saying something, but it may be in response to something that I did first. And it could even be something that's oh, you talked about it in the past, like, man, like she's still holding me to that. Like that was like years ago. But we have to listen. We have to really listen, and we have to really minister to. Like that's the first person we should ever minister to as husbands is our wives, yep. Right? And so you even talked about Abraham.
Yeah, good old Abraham
left his wife exposed, and to the point where God had to intervene because he was like, now you messing with my plan to restore mankind through my son because you up here trying to like act like that's your sister, even though he was half true.
Yeah, it's half true. It's half true. He just neglected to fulfill the rest of that information.
Truth by omission, right?
Right.
They were in Egypt. He did this twice.
Yes, he did it twice.
Where he was like, "No, that's my sister," and the king was like, "Okay, Pharaoh, I'll take your sister," and wanted to put his hands on her and do what pharaohs do with pretty women. Right. And the Lord was like, "Oh, so you're not the protector? I'm gonna come in." And so you don't want to ever get to that place where God got to come in and be like, you know what, sir, you're not doing your job, so I got to come in and handle this. So got to make sure that we are the covering, the protection, the tuck for our spouses.
Yeah.
And most of the time, who we got to protect them from?
Ourselves.
Yeah, man.
We got to protect them from ourselves.
I don't even know how that works. That's a different type of shadow boxing right there. Like, you actually do some damage to yourself.
Well, I mean, we know that self-mutilation is real. People do it all the time. And it's funny when I talk to people who have been in self-mutilation, Reggie, is that they will hurt themselves, and they'll say is they'll do it, one, to feel something because they're so numb in life. They want to feel something. So they'll do it. The other one is that it's a punishment against themselves.
Sure.
It's their own penance against themselves.
Flagellation, right?
Yep. And you understand that, especially from the Catholic background. I know you understand it.
Yeah, I do.
But that's it, man. Sometimes that we can grow so numb to our walk with our wives that we can self-mutilate because we want to feel something, and we'll feel something through her feeling something, but it's through her being hurt instead of walking in joy. And we have to be careful with that. And then also, like you said, the punishment, making sure that we're not punishing our wives. It's not gonna say unjustly, just not punishing them. Because sometimes we, as men, if we get overbearing, if we get forgetful, neglectful, if we don't do what the word says, which is washing her with that word on a consistent basis, right? I mean, surface dirt is no problem, but if you leave it long enough, it can begin to infect the skin.
Yeah.
And it can begin to affect the appearance of a thing and cause more issues because we're not washing the way we should. And so, yes, we can hurt our wives with our words. We can hurt our wives with our lack of words, right? And we have to make sure that we are protecting our ribs. And God is helping me with that. God really did a overall on me, fam. And I thank him for it, because sometimes if we get too familiar,
hey, that's a dangerous one.
If we get too familiar and we get in this real deep comfort space where I got you, so I ain't really got to work for you. Be careful with that, because you'll start to lose. And what the scriptures even said in Revelation chapter 3, when Jesus talked to a church and he says, this one thing I have against you, you lost your first love. Mm-hmm. You lost your first love. You're still doing all the other things you should be doing, but this element is missing. And God tells them, you got to get that back.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up, because when you said that people who self-harm, they're trying to feel something. It's like, why would you go to harm as the thing that you feel first? Why not love? Right? But if they don't feel like the love is present, if they don't feel like the love is something that can be stirred up, like you say, stir up the gift, then you'll go to something else. Yeah. It's easy to agitate. It's easy to, that's like a go-to that's too familiar to a lot of us, is just to agitate. Because when you're with somebody that's supposed to be as close as your wife is, you know their weaknesses, you know, and so they know yours too. And sometimes that's what's familiar. Yeah, man. And it's not a good look at all. You just push each other's buttons just because you can. Yeah. Right. And it's not a good space to be in. And so, yeah, man, I love that. And I give that also to my children. And that's one of those things also, just as wisdom for parents and for husbands and wives who do have children. There's going to be levels of things that your children, one, are too young to fully comprehend. And I get that. But as they mature and they start getting older, be careful that you don't hide all this stuff from them. Yeah. Be careful with that. Because, man, they, romanticize marriage and make it seem like it's work. Right. And if you be careful, you'll leave it up to TV to tell them what marriage is supposed to be about. Right. And the divorce. Right. Bro, in no time flat. Or they'll end up in a situation that is not in agreement with the king and kingdom. And for them to be able to see and understand that, listen, we struggle through things, but we're fighting for it. And that, yes, there is a love component that our marriage works on, but that's not the only component. That it requires my work. It requires my sacrifice. It requires me to sit in a space as a priest and as a king, right? Yeah. And as a servant. So you can't just be king and you can't just be priest. Nope. You got to be also a servant and work that full dynamic. Otherwise, we leave it exposed. That's the model that we have. Yeah. Of Christ. Right. And so, that picture that you showed, like he texted me a picture of him and his wife Star. 2 pictures actually. And I just looked at it for a second and I had to go back and look at it again, because I was like, she is kind of glowing though. And that's when I was like, she has been washed in the water of his word, which is what I believe it tells us to do in Ephesians. And I was just like, man, I can see it. Yeah. And I don't mean to say that you did this selfishly. You did it selflessly, but you're going to reap the benefits of that. And we just have to keep storing up those benefits and keep remembering to wash our wives, our ribs, with the water of the word. Bro, when you said that about reaping the benefit, okay, so our teenage daughter, Tamira, has her first bank account, right? Mm-hmm. And she's got her savings and her checkings. But
This one finally got her first APY. What's it called? What's
APR?
the APR for her yearly interest
Yeah,
on her
yeah.
savings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This one got her first one, bro. It was only a cent, but she was so happy.
Word.
She was like, Dad, it's an extra cent. And in my mind, I'm not trying to crush it, because in this moment, she's seeing a benefit of her deposit. She's seeing the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I deposited. I kept it in there. I got something in return.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that freshness is what I pray. Forgive me for ever losing it and making sure I get it back. That what I deposit, like you just talking, into our wives, deposit into our marriage, into our ministry, and deposit, and whether it is 1 cent or not. It could be 5, it could be 10, it could be $1. But even if it's 1 cent, oh Lord, look at that. Yeah. There's a return on that deposit.
Y'all about the return.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
And he's a God of multiplication, and we have to trust him in it. And so, man, God has blessed both of us with great wives. I know for the surety, and can say it with full surety, that the men that you see us, and there is a great portion of that that is due to the God giving us the help meet that we got.
There's no way that I would be able to do what I'm attempting to do and build without Kiana, right? Without you, Kiana. So thank you.
Yes.
What I say to her recently, I might not be able to remember it, but I was saying the balance is so crazy, because I was like, yeah, the Lord showed me something about her, and I was like, it's so good, because she will seek Him for wisdom. She's like, man, I don't want to misstep. I will launch out by faith, and I'm like, misstep or not, I'm about to execute, right?
Right.
And man, right. I need that person to say, hold on, no, I see your faith, but can we get some wisdom in it too? But at the same time, she can't be so caught up in seeking the wisdom and waiting that we miss the window when it presents itself. Yeah. And so the pairing of the two of us just can't be there. Right. But it feels like
sometimes
like I'm exposed
right.
sometimes. I'm like, man, I'm trying to get this counter punch in. Like, I'm trying to go right now. So,
but it's good, because that balance is there, and so it's good stuff. And so we want every husband, as you guys are hearing this, even for wives, if a wife is listening to this, can I say this, and I hope that you would receive this from me. Allow yourself to be protected. Allow yourself to be kept. Sometimes this spirit of this feminine movement and this feminine independence, on this I don't need a man kind of thought process, be careful of that spirit. Because what it'll do is it'll be the rib that'll kick the arm up and say, I don't need you. It'll be the rib that'll kick it up and be like, I don't need you. And then here come the whop, and you yeah, you can't breathe. Ain't nothing happening right. Listen, I've never had a fractured rib before in my life. I praise the God.
Yeah, because I heard about them jokes. That ain't nothing nice. Every time you breathe, you feel pain. Bro, it take a long time to heal, because you're always breathing.
So you're always moving that boy.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. I'm not okay. So just as a wisdom, allow yourself to be kept, and then men of God, husbands, keep. Okay, Scripture is showing us that that's God's right order.
Yeah, that's
God's right order. It's not our order. It's not man's order. That's God's order. And so just do it, and do it well, and we can keep our ribs, man. Keep them intact. Keep them intact.
I want my baby back.
That's
what I'm probably going to call this joke.
I said baby back. Baby back. Rib. So, thank you guys so much. This is Kee Kier.
Konnection.
And you guys know, I know it's been 3 weeks, but y'all know on the platforms to find us. You got Manu, Forti Ministries.
Power in my testimony.
You can also find us on Spotify. All right. And we want you guys to enjoy it. We want you to receive of it. We want you to be blessed by 2 men of God just chopping up the word of God and life, and then giving it back to you guys. So thank y'all so much, and
appreciate y'all.